Welcome back, friends. Today we are getting into the second part of our interview with Breanna from Sweet Autumn Eclectic. If you missed the first part, where we discussed the candle making process, various waxes and wicks, and adding scent to our candles, that video is available on my channel. In this video, we're going to be discussing more of the business side of candle making. Breanna paints her own vessels for a truly unique, one-of-a-kind candle. We discuss the more artistic side of the candle business, and we also get into some candle safety. Therefore, this video will be good for both candle lovers and small business owners alike. Let's get into it. Sweet Autumn Eclectic feels so intentional and authentic. What are some of your sources of inspiration for your business that people might not expect?
I always wanted my candle business to be kind of a reflection of my own personality. I am deeply, deeply creative, but I'm also kind of a nerd, and I like math, and I like, um, you know, detail-oriented things. But I wanted my candle business to be a reflection of that, where it was really, really colorful and playful, but also, kind of buttoned up a little bit too. So, and I wanted it to be very intentional because that's kind of the way I try to live. I don't like that, my candle addiction previously was, creating a lot of waste that I didn't know what to do with. And
Mhm.
so I find a lot of inspiration in things I see. I collect art from local makers and artists that do something different with color or pattern or texture. And it's probably not real unexpected, but yeah, that's kind of what I wanted it. I like things that are in juxtaposition to each other.
Mhm.
Whether it's, playful and formal or um, you know, cursive and block font. Everything. I think those kinds of contrasts against each other, I think are fun and have a lot of character.
Agreed. I love putting two different unexpected aesthetics together.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of fun. I don't know. I'm a nerd. I'm a word nerd, like font nerd, color nerd,
Yep. I have
etc.
way too many fonts on my computer. It's terrible. It's
Right?
an addiction, I swear.
Right. And I'm like, sometimes I will literally choose a font for the name or for like one character in
Yep.
it. Like I will tell you my brand fonts. I chose the serif font for the ampersand because I
Uh-huh.
wanted a fun ampersand for my business name for Gin and Tonic.
Yeah.
And then I chose my a non sans serif font for the W, which doesn't even factor into any of my branding anywhere. But I love the W it has. And that is why I went with that
Yeah.
over any other sans serif. Okay, so you hand paint your vessels, which is boggles my mind. Like I'm creative. I've painted some stuff before, but I cannot imagine dedicating that much time and effort into a single vessel, although I am considering it. So how do you choose like what colors to use? What is your inspiration for that?
Um, it's kind of like when I start with a note for a fragrance blend, and I usually start with one color, and then kind of, stack them on top of each other. Because I tend to be a little bit perfectionistic, in a lot of other areas of my life. The the methodology that I use for these, tends to be really, experimental and playful, and that's really good for my brain and helps me kind of not take it too seriously.
Hmm.
It's fun and it's, I have a huge Pinterest board of, inspirational colors and things like that, and I really do look for, unexpected color pairings in art or swatch books, or sometimes I just will force myself to randomly pull out three colors and see what happens.
Oh, that's fun.
And yeah, mostly it is. Sometimes not so much, but with the alcohol inks that I use, if it really turns out badly, I can clean it all off, start again.
Oh, that's nice.
Um, so, yeah, it is, and it thankfully it doesn't happen very often. I don't. I think I've probably restarted maybe only 10 ever, maybe.
Hmm.
Because if something is not turning out um, colorful enough or contrasting enough, I can always grab another color and layer it on,
Hmm.
and just keep playing. So sometimes it will come together quickly, and I might, finish painting a vessel in 6 or 7 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Other ones can take me, half hour, 45 minutes if it's just not quite coming together.
So, what is more cathartic for you? Painting the vessels themselves, determining the blends you're going to use, or pouring the candles?
I think painting the vessels and coming up with blends probably equally. It kind of depends on um, where I'm at, even emotionally or creatively or whatever I'm dealing with kind of outside of my, in my personal life. I love coming up with blends. Um, that is probably my favorite part. Um, when I need to challenge myself. I will say that maybe that painting I can get kind of lost in my head, and that's kind of soothing in a different way. I can kind of just not be dwelling on whatever drama I've got going on. So
Mhm.
uh yeah, they're cathartic in different ways.
Fair enough. Fair
Pouring
enough.
them, because I'm not usually pouring in massive batches unless I'm doing a market.
Mhm.
And then it's that's more of a business task that I still love, but it that's more of a get it done kind of task.
Same coming up with the scent blends is it transports me to a different place and it is so good for my mental health,
Yeah,
especially when I'm getting to the
sure.
point where I'm like I can pretty much nail what I want to achieve on the first try frequently.
Nice.
Not always, but Pantone recently released their 2026 color of the year. Do you have thoughts about Cloud Dancer?
You
Have you
know
seen
what? I don't normally even track Pantone's colors of the year because I think that's kind of dorky, quite honestly.
I'm
So I
also a
had to look it
hoarder.
up, and yeah, I had to look it up and see what it was, and I'm a little confused because white,
Right.
not so much. Hand me something white, and it's not going to stay white for very long. So
Same.
I keep my walls in my studio white because I have to film in here and whatnot. But if not, these would probably be, I don't know, some shade of blue or purple or something. Um, so yeah, I don't really get it.
I don't either. It feels almost intentional at this point. I've heard some political theories about it, but that is
Yeah,
very
you know
intentional and
what?
it
That was
seems
my thought.
right.
Yeah, that was my thought was like, are we just not wanting to have an opinion because
Oh
it's
no,
white?
I think it's very intentional in maintaining the systems that already existed and are in place. I'm like such a nerd though. I'm like,
I
I
do
will sit
too.
there and wait with bated breath for December when Pantone releases their color of the year. This was so disappointing to me. So
Yeah,
disappointing.
I mean, I usually become like aware of it at some point because it will come up in my Pinterest feed or on a, home account that I follow on Instagram or something like that. But
Mhm.
normally I don't care because it doesn't matter to me.
Right. I mean, I'm glad that like all the paint companies also have their color of the year and
Yeah.
a lot of like the different design firms And even Etsy back in the day, I don't know if they still are or not, they were doing color of the year also, their own. And it always varies from Pantone. But while we're talking about color or lack thereof, do you use color theory when you are coming up with the candle designs and the colors you put on your candles?
I really don't. Although I will say I think I was kind of born with a good eye for color,
Hmm.
and what plays well together and what doesn't, because even before I understood that there was a concept of color theory,
Hmm.
um, I was okay figuring out what was aesthetically pleasing and um when I'm picking colors for vessels, I think I have kind of an innate understanding of like, okay, that might go well together. Excuse me. And kind of what I know won't. And I
Hmm.
usually just kind of stay with colors that are like I might do a vessel with all warm tones or a vessel with all
Hmm.
cool tones, and kind of do it that way. But sometimes I just throw something else in there just to make it unexpected.
Talk to me about alcohol inks, if you would. I've never used alcohol inks before, but they are so vibrant and so pretty. And every time I see them, I'm intrigued by them. Are there special precautions you have to take when using them?
A little bit, yeah. Definitely not for hours on end in a small room. And there are some, you're gonna get a headache.
Okay.
I usually, if I'm working for long hours, painting, large amounts of vessels in a small space, I will open up a window or make sure I take really, really regular breaks to leave the room.
Hmm.
Because you more than likely will get a headache.
Ugh.
Um, if it's not, 6 months out of the year here, I can't be opening windows. I live in the Midwest. It's cold. Yeah. So I will, take frequent breaks. If I'm having to do a lot of them, I will put a fan by me to make sure that, I'm moving the air away from my face.
Hmm.
I don't want to feel crummy when I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I will say it's not to the degree of like spray painting in a
Hmm.
closed room. It's not that bad, but yeah, conscientious. I let the vessels gas off for a few days before I
Hmm.
start sealing them, so I don't have problems with the sealant. And one of the sealants that I use is a an art spray, and those I do outside for sure because I need 4 to 6 coats.
Hmm.
Um, I don't want to kill myself.
Oh, geez. Yeah, for sure. That's nuts. Using an alcohol-based ink, kind of brings up a safety question in my mind. How do you ensure that your vessels are actually not going to catch fire since you're working with flammable things like alcohol, alcohol-based inks,
Yeah,
and whatever sealant you use? Like mine is very flammable. So since you're burning a candle in them,
yeah.
how do you make sure that your vessels are safe to burn a candle in?
Most of the flammability concerns are pretty mitigated just by time.
Hmm.
With the alcohol inks, if they're, it's really the fumes that are flammable.
Hmm.
Also, I use isopropyl alcohol to blend the inks together and stuff like that. So I really have to make sure that those fumes have gassed off.
Oh, interesting.
But that happens over 72-ish hours
Hmm.
after they're completed. And then out, and then I'll do the spray sealant, and that's another 48 to 72 hours that I let those gas off. And then the final sealant that I use is a um, water-based, non-toxic sealant that I hand apply, no propellants or anything like that in it. And before I ever started even considering selling these, I tested the snot out of them.
Hmm.
Um, and they don't generally even get too warm on the outside because these are really thick ceramics. So there's not really a risk of flame, at least from a candle. I mean, if you held up a lighter to it, it's going to get hot. It's not going to catch on
Sure.
fire though.
Okay.
There's just nothing to catch on fire.
always good to know that you can feel safe burning your candle,
Yeah,
not have risk of the
for
vessel
sure.
itself catching fire or contributing to the flame, whatever.
I'm not one of those people that puts like dried flowers and stuff in it. That just makes me cringe. So
Same.
pretty, but
Right. Or like, a little
yes,
chunk of a crystal type thing. But yes, the dried flowers, seriously,
yeah.
people stop doing that because I'm not trying to catch your house on
I know. I
fire. I'm
keep
liable for
thinking
that.
like, yeah, I see that every once in a while on someone's, account or their Pinterest page or whatever, Instagram or whatever, and that just makes me cringe.
They're stunningly gorgeous,
Especially,
but
I've had cats that will jump up on the counter and I don't really need, a cat's tail on fire because you have this massive flame from this really pretty
mhm.
cinnamon stick that you added in for no good reason.
Right, right. I mean, I love it, but I pour it, with the essential oils, I also pour my intention in there. So you don't really need anything additional. So you seem like you have really honed in on your ideal customer. And that is so important for any small business. What was your process in coming up with your ideal customer?
I started off with kind of the same things that people always tell you, identify where your customer shops and identify with where your or I identify what your customer's demographic is, what their interests are. But I kind of threw it out the window at one point and was just like, okay, what is the kind of person that I want to be buying these? Because these are different than the grocery store candle aisle, um, impulse purchase. There's a small group of people that are smaller than, I guess, mainstream that I really wanted to identify with and wanted to try to reach and really thought about what that person looked like. That person's shopping at handmade markets. They're not even necessarily going online to do their shopping. They're shopping small. They're shopping um, in their, neighborhood bookstore. They're
Mhm.
not shopping online. And I really kind of got into that and also watched who is buying my candles at a market
Mhm.
and trying to tailor that to them. They like an extra touch. They like that. I have customers that come back and I know what they like. I know what their if I make a vessel with their favorite color in it, I might just tag them on Instagram and say, "Hey, this made me think of you." And I think our ideal customers, especially for us indie candle makers, like that touch. It's a big deal. And I really just dove into that and kind of threw out a lot of the business advice for finding your ideal customer.
That's one thing I'm like, I also try and like, I've been doing this long enough now as you have as well to know, like who's, who my ideal customer already is because they're buying from me at a market,
Yeah.
or some kind of
Yeah.
in-person event. It's kind of built in, but it's also not. And for somebody who's not established, it can be really confusing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and I think that just takes, I mean, I think it takes intentionality and it takes time. When I first started, because I was parenting a special needs child, I really thought, oh, needs moms, they really need something to relax and they need something that's pretty and they need something to help them find some me time. But it really evolved because that wasn't, quite honestly, as a special needs parent, like you don't have time for that. You just
Right,
you're not gonna be spending $60 on a candle. Let's be frank.
right.
You might buy an impulse candle at the supermarket because that's where you are and because
Hmm.
you would really like to relax tonight in the bathtub.
Hmm.
And that's all good. It's just not my ideal customer. It took time to figure that out.
Sure. I'm an ADHD mom, so I get it. It's my minor, but that's kind of a place that I was also coming from is, trying to take care
Yeah.
of people like me. I'm like, I am kind of my own ideal customer, but also I'm not at the same time. But I'm like, I'm always forever trying to think of do as much as I can for you. It's just, it's the
Mhm.
mom in me for part of it. And the rest of it is, it's the
Yeah.
frazzled mom in me, trying to meet my own needs, if that makes sense, and working
Yeah.
through whatever I'm working
Yeah.
through. What is the most memorable customer interaction you've ever had? The kind that made you go, this is why I do it.
I was at a market last year and this young woman came into my booth. She was probably 16, 17, 18. And she spent at least 30 minutes in my booth trying to pick out the perfect candle for her mom.
Oh,
Um, Half of the booth I had candles that were already poured that people could take home immediately. And then the other half of the booth at this particular event, I set up like my store and they were all unfilled. And so she spent so much time trying to pick out a candle vessel that she thought her mom would love. It was her favorite colors, and all that. And then she spent so much time. I had like travel size tins of all the scents that I had currently. And she spent so much time trying to figure out the perfect scent that her mom would love in that perfect vessel that she just picked out.
I love it.
Um, it was very cute. Very, very cute.
That is
I
super
could have
sweet.
kissed her.
You're right. I had one, I was doing a market back in, this was 22, and um I had a family come up to me and they'd all had COVID like a year prior to that and hadn't been able to smell anything for a year.
Oh
She walked
no.
in, smelled
Yeah.
one of my candles, and she's like, "Oh my God, I can actually smell this." It unlocked something in her brain, and that was one of the most
Wow.
amazing moments of my life. That's why I do this. I also try and go for some
Yeah.
nostalgia type stuff. My own life has been kind of crazy and hectic, and I want to take you back. And I always have people coming up and being like, that smell reminds me of something. Okay, that's awesome.
Hmm.
You know what? If I can unlock that core memory in your childhood, that's a good thing. You
Yeah.
know, Smell like your grandmother's house or smell like, your grandpa's favorite sweater or whatever. That's
Yeah.
those little moments are so special.
That's
Uh,
the other one that came to mind for me. I have a customer who I have a pipe tobacco and plum
mhm.
candle, and he says, "Oh my gosh, that reminds me of my dad." And I love those moments
I
for
want to do
sure.
a pipe tobacco scent, and I need to figure out how to do that because my both my parents smoked pipes and cigars.
Mm.
My mom owned and my grandfather, her father, owned a pipe and cigar store over in Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I think it would be really neat to honor them. And, I love the
Yeah.
smell of like a good Cavendish. I think pipe and tobacco use are really falling off with this, in this day and age. And that's fine because it is an addictive substance, et cetera.
Sure.
And I mean, nobody wants to be smelling a pack of Marlboro Reds, but pipe tobacco, that's going to remind you of somebody in your past who probably smoked
Yeah.
and bring back really
Yeah.
good memories of them. If you could create a signature scent for a fictional character or a celebrity, who would it be and what would it smell like?
I thought I tried to think of somebody real.
Mhm.
But people are so sketchy right now, quite frankly, that so I did think my daughter's favorite um, movie character was Merida from Brave. I thought about that, and I thought, a really fun, foresty,
Moss.
botanical,
Hmm.
um, with a little bit of ozone for all of her, light and airy kind of playfulness. Yeah. So it would be Merida from Brave.
I love that so much. That's so cute. So I caught an interview with Jason Kelsey, Taylor Swift's brother-in-law, basically, the football player for
Okay.
the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know if he's still there or
Yeah.
not, but he is married. I forget who his wife is. I'm not into that whole scene, but he went on a rampage about scented
Yeah, me neither.
candles. He will not allow his wife to burn scented candles around him. He gets really mad whenever she brings them in the house. So my thought was just make a candle that, he would actually be okay with. And I'm like, I get it, dude, whether you're sensitive or whether you just hate that you're putting all these, chemicals into your home's atmosphere, but I thought about making a candle like for him. So that's the closest I could come. And it might be an
Well,
unscented
there you
candle,
go.
but it might also not be an unscented candle. I want him to find something that, he's gonna love,
Yeah.
and actually appreciate and not feel bad about burning. So
Yeah.
that's the best I can do to answer that question. What would it smell like? I have no idea. I, I
Gorgeous.
would I would probably also go like super like woodsy. I definitely think some cedar,
Yeah.
maybe some sandalwood,
Yeah. Yeah.
but make sure it's a good quality sandalwood because that's a whole vibe.
Throw some vetiver in there. Vetiver makes everything
Oh, for
better.
sure. For sure. I think we might have just come up with my next candle blend.
There you
Cedar
go.
vetiver, sandalwood.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah,
Mm,
that's right
that'd
up
be
my
good.
alley.
Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Breanna, for being here and for answering all of my unhinged questions. Join us next week, where we'll finish out this interview. We'll be discussing even more of the business of candle making, competing with big box stores, and busting some myths about the candle business. As always, every accusation is a confession, free Palestine, protect the First Amendment, and do not let up on the Epstein files. Survivors deserve justice. Thanks for watching.